Hello, it's your Uncle Spurt here, and today we're having a good hard squint at the fresh new Vivo V60 and seeing how it stacks up against the older V50, which actually ain't that much of an old timer, only came out about 5 months ago. Now there's once again no Pro model, just a regular vanilla Vivo V60, so less work for me, more time for whiskey, huzzah. And despite the small time frame between the V50 and the V60, you do get a few upgrades, including to the performance, the battery tech, and that Zeiss branded camera action. So let's have a gander at the Vivo V60, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe, ding that old notifications bell. Cheers! So first up, what's in the box besides of course the V60? Well, Vivo has kindly stuffed in a condom case which you can wrap around your Vivo V60, keep it protected. And this is actually the same colour as the V60 as well, which is a nice touch. And you've also got one of Vivo's flash charge adapters bunged in there, and a bit of Type-C to Type-A USB charging cable action. And that right there is everything you'll find chucked in the box. So the Vivo V60 is yet another 6.77 inch mega gate, the same as the Vivo V50, and if you chuck them side by side you'll really struggle to work out which is which. You've once again got pretty skinny and almost symmetrical bezels surrounding that display, and Vivo's usual hand-pleasingly curvy finish, which is a breath of fresh air compared with all the iPhone-esque flat-edge gates that are launching at the moment. If it wasn't so bloody huge, the hand feel would get a perfect 10 out of 10. It is lush stuff. And you've got ever so slight curvature on all 4 edges of the display as well, but it's so subtle that it's practically flat. Now, apparently you got diamond shield glass protecting that display, but then Vivo has also hoyed on a screen protector, so no worries. And then it's once again a plastic frame which does somewhat betray the Vivo V60's budgety roots. Then this summer blue model has a glass back, though apparently the grey version does have a composite rear end instead. And yes, as usual, the Vivo V60 is available in a small selection of colours. This is the summer blue model, which I really like. It's bright and vibrant and generally jolly. And Vivo's marketing bods are back in action again. Apparently summer blue captures the essence of a summer day, where the softness of pink embodies the gentleness of sunlight, and the tranquility of blue represents the serenity of the sky. Although yes, here in the UK, that summer sky is usually about as serene as a kick in the cock. It is actually pretty serene at the moment, it's just also densely foggy, so I don't think we'll be seeing any sunlight. We certainly won't be seeing any bloody blue, that's for sure. And yeah, as you can see there, as you tilt the Vivo V60, that back end sort of morphs from blue to a sort of yellowy pink colour, which is rather pleasing. And just as pleasing is that matte finish, which has proven reassuringly resistant to grim, grimy muck. And of course, just like the V50, the fresh new Vivo V60 is IP68 and IP69 rated, so it's fully resistant to dust, grit, and water as well. Not only can it be submerged in water, it can take a big old powerful spurt of the stuff. Now, to unlock the Vivo V60, you've once again got an optical in-display fingerprint sensor, which is housed slightly awkwardly towards the bottom end of the display, as you can see there. But thankfully I haven't put my thumb out of joint trying to unlock this bugger just yet. And of course you do have face unlock as a backup option as well. And once you're in, you'll see that the software situation is a bit of Android 15 with of course Vivo's FunTouch OS 15 slathered on top. And apparently European markets where the Vivo V60 is going on sale will enjoy 4 OS updates in total, taking you up to Android 19 and 6 years of security patching. So not quite as generous as what you'll get from the likes of Samsung, but still pretty good for a mid-range mobile. And FunTouch certainly isn't my favourite launcher out there, but it sticks with the general sort of Android UIs. You've got your Google Discover feed, you've got your apps tray, you've got your notifications panel and control center, which you can drag down like so. And you've got a reasonable amount of customization and personalization, but some issues, like for instance, the always on display isn't actually always on. You can only get it to pop up by poking the bugger or shaking it slightly. And I've also seen a few wee bits of jank here on the Vivo V60. So for instance, every time I hibernate the phone, it seems to flash very briefly to the actual lock screen before it hibernates, which is quite jarring. But of course, the Vivo V60 isn't actually on sale as I shoot this video. It's pre-release software, so hopefully a lot of that junk will be sorted in updates imminently. And then just the usual bugbears, including an absolute crap ton of crapware. You'll be there a good while when you're first setting up your Vivo V60, just going through uninstalling all of the bollocks you don't want. Just free up a good bit of space, although thankfully you've got up to 512 gigs of storage crammed on here. It's the same storage options as the Vivo V50, 128, 256 or 512 gigs of the stuff, and sadly, once again, not expandable via micro SD. You've just got a double-sided SIM tray, so it can take up to 2 SIMs, but no eSIM support, certainly not here on my review model of the Vivo V60. And no real changes for this generation when it comes to the massive 6.77-inch AMOLED display. It's once again a 2392 by 1080 Full HD resolution. And with that AMOLED tech comes some excellent contrast as well. You've got full HDR10 Plus streaming support. You can actually see what's going on in those very dimly lit Netflix scenes. And it's a powerfully bright panel as well, maxes out at about 1500 nits. So bugger all issues with outdoor visibility as long as you haven't got the sun literally glaring right off that screen. Those display settings are absolutely packed as usual with the likes of the visual enhancement tool. You can mess around with the screen colors, as you can see, set to standard by default, but you can stick them on professional or bright, which just helps to make things a little bit more vibrant and vivid. Or else you can mess around with the color temperature. You got the usual eye comfort mode, which can filter blue light, but it doesn't appear that Vivo has boosted the PWM dimming for the V60, so just bear that in mind if you are sensitive to OLED flicker. And the refresh rate maxes out, of course, at 120 Hz. And I'm certainly more than happy enough with the audio output from that stereo speaker setup here on the Vivo V60. It is ear-piercingly loud when you max out the volume. Hey Gemini, should I be worried about this lump that I've just found?
No, Chris, that's just your penis.
My what? So yeah, proper loud on that maximum volume, even if the output from the bottom speaker is slightly imbalanced compared with the earpiece speaker. Certainly this packs most of the grunt. And occasionally you get some distortion on the absolute max volume if there's a fair bit of background music going on or something like that, but generally pretty good. And you've got the usual smart audio tuning shenanigans stuffed on here, as well as audio super resolution, which can boost the quality of any low-res tracks. And the performance has also been mildly upgraded here in the Vivo V60 versus the old V50. So now got the Snapdragon 7 Gen 4 power and proceedings as opposed to the 7 Gen 3 like before. This is a wee bit more powerful. You've got the updated Adreno 722 GPU versus the 720. So I certainly found that the gaming experience on the likes of Wuthering Waves was slightly improved. The Vivo V60 does still struggle when you boost up the graphics settings on Wuthering Waves. It's perfectly playable, but you will notice it gets a little bit sludgy. The frame rate does drop, especially when the action intensifies. But if you keep it on more modest graphics settings, then generally handles it just fine. And of course the everyday running absolutely fine as well. And the Vivo V60 did start to heat up fairly fast when I was playing again on Wuthering Waves. Towards the top end got quite toasty, but thankfully didn't seem to impact the performance and didn't get to the sort of temperatures where my fingers were getting singed. And as usual, you got that FunTouch game mode slapped on here as well, which you can activate in the settings for any game that you download. And this includes performance boosting tools. You can switch up the refresh rate. If you dive into game tools, you've got even more stuff in here to reject calls, block notifications, lock the brightness. Plenty of stuff packed in there, and you do get the dedicated esports mode as well, which I always chuck on when I'm testing. This essentially just maxes out the settings, make sure you're absolutely not disturbed and you get the best possible gaming experience. And the battery life was already mostly superb on that Vivo V50, but Vivo apparently not content. They have upgraded it once again for the Vivo V60, so that old 6000 mAh capacity cell has been boosted to 6500 mAh. So if you want something that's going to last you a full weekend, as long as you don't go too mental, well, the Vivo V60 will certainly do the job. That battery drain is a mere trickle, no matter what you're up to, unless you are literally full-on gaming non-stop on Wuthering Waves. In which case it still only drops by about 20% for every hour of gameplay, giving you 5 full hours of Wuthering Waves action before you'll need to plug the bugger back in. And of course, you've got all the bypass charging shenanigans in that gaming mode as well if you want to make full use of that. No upgrade when it comes to the battery charging tech, however. It's once again 90-watt wired charging, which to be fair is perfectly nippy, if now slightly slower on the V60 to give you a full charge, only because it's a larger capacity battery. But pleasingly nippy still, certainly compared with its Samsung-y, googly shaped rivals. But no, alas, there is bugger all wireless charging support once again. And some pretty big changes for the old camera tech as well, although as you can see, once again, Vivo has partnered with optical experts Zeiss. So it's another 50 megapixel primary shooter here on the Vivo V60, although that sensor has been swapped back to Sony from Omnivision, and they've gone with the ever reliable IMX766. And as usual, you have a choice of filters. As you can see, it's on the Zeiss Vivid mode by default. You can drop this down to the original. You've also got that texture mode on board. So you've got a variety of options. Then you've got like the stage mode, various other filters. And I prefer sticking with the natural Zeiss mode, though the Vivid mode quite handy for highlighting bright blue skies, making those visuals a bit more punchy if that's what you're into. And as always, the Vivo V60 impresses as far as mid-range snappers go, capturing plenty of detail, dealing with strong contrast, no worries, and even in low light type situations you won't see much in the way of grain. And speaking of low light scenarios, you've once again got that aura light slapped on the back. This is kind of a less harsh version of a flash, which is quite handy for low light portrait snaps. As you can see, you can tweak the color temperature between warm and cool, or you can just leave it on auto mode if you can't be bothered with that. And obviously different temperatures will suit different skin tones and different kinds of lighting. In my case, I think I just look pallid no matter what. Now, after chucking a 50 megapixel ultra wide angle shooter into the Vivo V50, this has been downgraded for the V60 to a more basic 8 megapixel shooter. So you won't get as much detail packed into every frame, and it's not quite as capable in lower light scenarios. But Sony has more than made up for this by slapping on a fresh new 50 megapixel telephoto shooter using the Sony IMX882 sensor. And you can actually zoom up to 100 times in total using the combination of that telephoto zoom and just digital shenanigans, but I wouldn't recommend getting anywhere near that cap unless you enjoy quite abstract images. But it's certainly a perfectly respectable mid-range zoom effort and a bit of a cracker for those portrait snaps. You got all the usual bonus Vivo modes chucked on here, including a dedicated manual mode as well, which allows you to shoot raw images so you can edit on the fly. You got full control over the likes of the focus, the shutter speed, the ISO levels. And you can shoot up to 4K resolution Ultra HD video using the rear cam setup on the Vivo V60. Although sadly it maxes out at 30 frames per second, there's no 60 frames per second option at 4K. God, I'm absolutely shagged out. I've only walked about half a mile. That's not good, is it? Stabilization's pretty good, as you can see, and audio pickup absolutely fine as well. And yes, as usual, there is a plethora of photo editing tools stashed on here as well, including the obligatory AI erase shenanigans, so you can get rid of any background stuff that happens to be lurking there. And poof, Chainsaw Man completely gone as if he never existed. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a delicious wee nutshell is the fresh new Vivo V60 and how it stacks up against that creaky old V50 that's now 5 months old. And as you can see, a surprising number of upgrades actually, including a fresh new telephoto zoom for the old camera. You've got boosted performance, which is good news if you are into a bit of gaming. You've got even better battery life than before as well, to overall make for quite an enjoyable mid-range handset, albeit one with usual FunTouch foibles, etc. And of course, actually laying your hands on a Vivo handset still pretty bloody tricky in 2025. Certainly if you live here in Blighty, it's going to be basically an import job. And of course, you've got some pretty solid rivals in 2025 as well. The likes of the Nothing Phone 3A Pro, which also boasts a decent telephoto camera slapped on the back end. You can go check out my full in-depth review of that, and also my roundup of the best mid-range mobiles, which is live right now on TechSpert for ideas of some of the best competition. In the meantime, let us know what you reckon down in the comments below. Please do poke, subscribe, and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers, everybody. Love you.